The Sustainable Energy Association is a business chamber. It is a collection of enterprises interested in sustainable energy, the development of the industry. The purpose of the association is to use sustainable energy as a means of solving the issues of emissions and climate change. So our constitution is very clear on why we exist. We're the fastest growing business group in Australia. Why is that? That's because businesses are coming to us because businesses are owned by people like you and I who are interested in making sure that our future is going to be sound. There are businesses that are putting real projects in the ground. They are suppliers that are those members, but we've also got customers that are buying green power or installing energy efficient appliances through their businesses, or are actually doing things like moving into green buildings or buying green car fleet. They can have a range of interests, and the key is they support us, they support the advocacy work we do, because as a business they want to see change and they're ready for change. In the context of, and so if there are businesses in that room, I'd obviously love to talk to you afterwards because that's what CEOs of organisations do. In the context of our work, I guess our interest is many-fold across energy efficiency, across the built environment, across transport, all the way through generation and all the way through customer use. In the context of Ross Garnaut's report, Garnaut said that in the early parts of an emissions trading system at around $25 a tonne, it's going to cost the Australian economy something in the order of $2 to $4 billion a year, perhaps ramping up to about $6 to $8 billion a year. Now, if you put that into the context of the NBN, 40-odd billion, it's not actually a big ask, that sort of number. If you put it into the context of what South Korea, as a government, have planned to do in the next 5 years, to spend $36.5 billion on renewable energy projects in South Korea to develop their industry for the purposes of fighting climate change, they're planning to roll out an NBN network that is about renewable energy. The most we've spent in Australia, if you added up the last 10 years and you got to a fairly good sum that included maybe the insulation, we might have spent $2 billion in 10 years. That's about it. Now, if we put it into another context, and I know I've only got 3 to 4 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up very quickly. Last year, in 2009, Australians threw away, there's an echo in here, threw away $54 billion worth of food. We threw away $54 billion worth of food. How is a carbon trading scheme that's going to cost our economy $8 billion a year going to cost our economy anything at all? If we could make a half efficiency in saving that food, we'd have paid for a carbon trading scheme. So the reality is that this thing is affordable. So anybody that tells you it's not needs to actually look at the real numbers and cite the real numbers. I guess in the context of what sorts of numbers do we expect we see? I've had businesses telling me that if they had $5 a tonne, they would be making changes that they're not making at $0 a tonne. They simply need an incentive. Businesses are controlled by boards. Boards need to see business cases. To drive the business cases, you need a price. And you won't get the attention of the board if what you're going to do is cost neutral. There won't be an investment because some other part of the project in a strategy in that board will get higher priority because capital investment is in short supply even within a company. If you get to $25 a tonne, we're going to get very close to catching a whole range of stuff. In my view, I don't believe we'll ever make it to $60 a tonne. We may see some peaks in carbon pricing when there are shortages of supply in particular areas, but it's not really going to have that big a consequence. So I think that $25 to $40 a tonne will actually cure all. Whether we're going to need particular management for particular industries to actually deal with the transition of that. Things like building solar-fired power stations for aluminium smelting. Just want to finally finish on these 3 points, and that's about complementary measures in relation to carbon. Because to me, an energy efficiency scheme for Australia is not about carbon. It's about making Australia's economy more competitive. It's about making our households more sustainable. It's about making our cost of living cheaper as a consequence of energy efficiency. That's what energy efficiency is. It's not about emissions, but gee, it helps. A renewable energy target, to me, is not about emissions reduction. A renewable energy target is about developing an industry, a new creative industry that creates jobs, creates industries across Australia and that creates a new nation. That's what a renewable energy target is about. A carbon reduction scheme, an emissions trading system, is about putting a price on carbon and recognising that we have to do something about carbon as well. All of those things are complementary, but all of those things have a separate purpose and have a separate outcome that is additional to doing something about climate change. It changes the way that Australia works. I think it's something that we are passionate about in our group, and we want to see that growth because it means new jobs, it means regional generation of power, it means regional generation of income, it means sustainability of communities outside of cities. There's so many things that come in company with it. I love to finish with a quote from Stephen Chu, the Energy Secretary for Obama, and that is that fixing climate change doesn't mean warm beer. Okay? It means getting the energy equation right so that we don't waste energy, that we're efficient in energy use, and when we source it, we get it from renewable sources. Thanks a lot.